There's a moment in every relationship where someone asks, is this love, or am I just afraid to be alone? For Belly, that question keeps echoing louder every time she looks at Conrad. Because what they have, or almost have, doesn't come with security. It comes with weight. And this summer? That weight feels heavier than ever. Conrad stands in front of her, vulnerable, heart wide open, offering something that once would have meant everything. But instead of running toward him, Belly steps back. Why? Because the story she's told herself for years, that she and Conrad are inevitable, doesn't hold up under the pressure of real life. She's starting to realize that the fantasy of Conrad might be safer than the reality of being with him. Let's talk about that fantasy. Belly's entire teenage life was wrapped up in the idea of Conrad. He was the boy she watched from afar, the one who never really let her in but still made her feel special just by being near him. The quiet glances, the unspoken tension, the electricity in their silences, it was intoxicating. But it wasn't real. Because love that stays silent for too long starts to feel like longing, not connection. Now, for the first time, Conrad isn't silent. He's saying all the right words. He's putting himself on the line. And still, Belly doesn't feel safe stepping into it. That says something. It says she's not sure the version of Conrad she loved in her head can survive in the real world. And she's scared that if they try and it doesn't work, it'll ruin everything, their history, their memories, their entire foundation. So what does she do? She hesitates. And that hesitation is more powerful than any rejection. Think about it, if someone tells you they love you, and you hesitate, it's not just uncertainty. It's fear. It's doubt. And more importantly, it's a sign that somewhere deep down, you're not convinced it's right. For Belly, love isn't supposed to feel like this. It's not supposed to make her doubt everything she thought she knew about herself. But with Conrad, that's exactly what it does. Not because he's wrong for her, but because he's complicated. And that complexity demands clarity she just doesn't have. Remember when she asks if they'd still be together if Susanna hadn't passed away? That's not a throwaway line. That's the heart of her conflict. She's trying to untangle grief from love, comfort from connection. She's asking the hardest question of all, do I love you because I want to, or because I'm afraid not to? And let's be honest, that's a terrifying place to be. Especially when the person in front of you is certain. That's another thing, Conrad is sure. Painfully sure. He's already done the work. He's lived in the silence, mourned the could-have-beens, and come out the other side knowing exactly what, and who, he wants. But Belly? She's still searching. And when one person is ready while the other is still figuring it out, love becomes a pressure instead of a peace. Belly doesn't want to break Conrad's heart. She wants to protect it. But in doing so, she breaks his heart anyway. Because nothing hurts more than offering someone your whole self, and watching them take a step back. That's the suspense in their story. Not whether they'll end up together, but whether Belly will ever stop questioning her own heart long enough to let love in. It's also why this moment is so deeply human. We all want to believe we'll know when it's real. That love will feel like fireworks or fate or something undeniable. But sometimes, love feels like confusion. Like hesitation. Like needing to walk away just to figure out if you'll ever want to walk back. And that's where Belly is. She's not ready. Not because she doesn't care. But because she wants to be sure, and right now, she's anything but sure. So when she walks away from Conrad, she's not just leaving him. She's leaving behind the version of herself that thought love would feel easier than this. And in doing so, she sets the stage for the hardest part of all. Figuring out if she can trust her heart, or if it's been lying to her all along. Belly and Conrad have always been part of each other's stories. Summers at Cousins Beach weren't just vacations, they were the backdrop of everything that shaped them. First crushes, late-night swims, whispered secrets, and the slow ache of growing up too fast. But here's the thing, when two people grow up side by side, it's easy to mistake proximity for destiny. And that's the exact trap Belly finds herself in. She's not just dealing with how she feels about Conrad in the now, she's sorting through years of feelings layered on top of each other like old memories in a dusty photo album. How do you know which moments were real love, and which were just habit? Conrad has always been the one. The one her younger self pined for, the one everyone joked about, the one she thought she'd never have. And sometimes, wanting someone for so long tricks your mind into thinking the love is deeper than it really is. Because if you don't end up with the person you spent years dreaming about, what does that say about all those years? But love isn't about time invested. It's about clarity. And Belly has none. When Susanna, Conrad's mom, got sick again, something changed. Not just in their family, but between them. The sadness pulled them closer, but it also blurred the lines. Grief makes people cling to what's familiar, what's comforting. For Belly, that was Conrad. And for Conrad, it was Belly. They weren't just holding each other, they were holding on to the past. And that's where the danger begins. Because once you've shared trauma with someone, the bond feels unbreakable. But it's not always built on love. Sometimes it's built on survival. On the need to not feel alone. And that's the kind of bond that can confuse even the most honest heart. Belly questions this over and over. Her voice shakes when she asks if they'd still be together if Susanna hadn't died. She wonders if Conrad's love is real or if it's just grief wearing a romantic mask. But here's what most people miss, she's not just asking him. She's asking herself. From the outside, it all looks like a perfect storm of summer romance. The beach, the history, the slow-burn connection between Belly and Conrad. For anyone watching, it seems obvious, they're meant to be. But watch closely, and you'll start to see the cracks in the story. Because every time Conrad steps toward her, Belly hesitates. Not physically. Emotionally. And it's not because she doesn't care. It's because she doesn't know if what she feels is real, or just familiar. You see, Belly grew up with Conrad. Her love for him didn't begin with a spark, it began with a seed planted in childhood, watered by expectations, family wishes, and a shared history soaked in loss. That kind of bond can feel a lot like love. But it's not always the same thing. And that's where her uncertainty begins. When someone becomes part of your story so early on, it gets hard to tell where your feelings end and theirs begin. Belly has spent so many summers orbiting Conrad's world, caught between wanting his attention and fearing what it might mean if she finally got it. So when it actually happens, when Conrad starts to open up, when he tells her he loves her, she doesn't smile, she doesn't fall into his arms. She freezes. It's not the reaction of someone certain about love. It's the reaction of someone terrified that she's been chasing an idea, not a person. In that moment, when Conrad confesses his love, Belly doesn't meet him halfway. She doesn't even know what she wants. Her apology isn't about rejecting him, it's about not trusting herself. About being unsure whether her love for him is born out of grief, obligation, or guilt. She asks questions that cut deep. Would we even be together if your mom hadn't gotten sick? If Susanna hadn't died? Those aren't questions that come from confidence. They come from doubt. Doubt that her feelings are hers, and not shaped by the weight of everything they've lost. This is why Belly is different from the usual romantic heroine. She's not swept up. She's not running into Conrad's arms with music swelling behind her. She's standing still, looking at the wreckage of their past, and trying to understand what's real and what isn't. And that makes her dangerous, not in a cruel way, but in a way that can hurt without meaning to. Because for Conrad, there's no uncertainty. He's all in. He's already changed. He's already fought his way through grief, denial, and the fear of losing her again. When he says he loves her, he means it in every tense, past, present, and future. But Belly? She doesn't even know what tense she's in. There's a reason she brings up fate. A reason she talks about how their mothers used to joke about them getting married. There's a reason she wonders if they're just living out someone else's dream. Because deep down, Belly is afraid she's not choosing Conrad, she's fulfilling an expectation. And love born out of expectation is never strong enough to last.